She's all right when you get to know her. This is my podcast, and it takes you from your restrictive, toxic, life-limiting 9 to 5 into a life on your terms, full of freedom and flexibility as a self-employed virtual assistant. So whether this is your first introduction into the possibility of becoming a VA, or perhaps you've been doing a bit of Googling already, I'm going to get rid of the overwhelm, rid of the self-doubt, and show you that this life is possible. I've not just started this rodeo, you know. I'm Catherine Gladwyn, and I've been doing what you think is impossible since 2015. Shall we get started? So I asked members of my VA Facebook group who from this year's Apprentice they think I've secured as a guest, and every answer was Chisola. So today I'm delighted to be joined by Lord Sugar. No, obviously I've got Chisola Chitambala with me, and wow, we've already said hello to each other off the recording, but thank you so much for making time in your diary. You know, you're everywhere at the moment. Tell me what's going on.
It's honestly such a pleasure to be on the podcast. So thank you so much for inviting me and having me.
Oh, it's just, it was a dream. I mean, I am an avid watcher. I've watched all 19 series of The Apprentice, but Chisola got down to the final 4, and you came across, you were so supportive of others, humble, kind. There was not a bad moment in there. You know, I'm not going to make this all about The Apprentice because that's not what Chisola's all about. And a lot of you may be thinking, well, how does this align to a VA podcast? Well, Chisola, along with her friend Natalie, is the owner of a very successful VA agency. So I'm going to ask more about that in a minute. I might have a couple of apprentice questions, though, if that's all right.
Oh, absolutely.
You know, one of the funny bits for me is when somebody leaves and I want to start a petition to get Tim some sort of title, because it's thank you, Baroness Brady. Thank you, Lord Sugar. Thanks, Tim.
I know.
We need to start some sort of campaign.
I know, because the thing is, Tim is honestly such an incredible guy and so credible. And do you know what? He has got an MBE. So I don't know whether we should just start saying, thank you, Tim, MBE.
Yes. Yes. Yes, absolutely. That's good. That's the campaign. We'll do that because it just always makes me laugh. He comes across wonderfully as well, doesn't he? We've already established that you run a successful VA agency, and I know you've got some great things to share and inspire the listeners in a second, but that's not what you pitched on The Apprentice, is it? Are you able to tell us what business idea you pitched and what's happening with that?
Yeah, absolutely. So I guess I should probably start from the beginning where I applied for The Apprentice. I kind of just I'd been watching the show for many years, and I was watching it with my boyfriend, now fiance, a year later, a year on. But I was watching it with him at the time, and he was, I think you should go on this. I think you'd be really good. I think you should do it. And we were watching last season, and I think a lot of people sit and watch and think, we can do so much better than the contestants that have been on there previously. It's definitely not the case, by the way.
No.
But I think, he kept on giving me a little bit of a push. And I said to him, if applications are still open, I will apply, because he just kept on going on about it. And so I went on the website and applications are still open. And I was like, oh gosh.
Gotta do it now.
I've committed to applying. So there I was. I filled in the application form, but it was a lot lengthier than I'd imagined. It was actually quite long to do the application. And I started it on a day where I think I had 101 things that I was doing. And I was like, oh, this application form is way too long. I'm just going to leave it. And so I did. I just parked it. And then I'm pretty sure the application's deadline passed and I'd missed it. And I thought, oh, never mind. Clearly wasn't meant to be. And then about 2 weeks later, I got an email to say, oh, actually, we saw that you had started this application form. The deadline has been extended. Would you basically like to finish it? And I thought, God, if this ain't a sign, I don't know what else is.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. So I then finished the application form, submitted it, on a bit of a whim, and just thought, we'll just kind of see what happens. it's probably very unlikely that I'm going to get onto the show, especially where I've applied quite last minute. But, I'll just give it a go like I do with all things in life. Just have a go. What's the
Yeah.
worst that could happen? What's the best that could happen? In this situation, I end up on The Apprentice. So,
Love it.
so the reason why I didn't submit my VA business was because at the time of applying, as you've heard with the backstory, I wasn't really like 100% in it in terms of knowing that, this is exactly what I wanted to do. And I think a lot of people who apply for the show are like, I want to go on there, I'm going to submit my business, etc. But I hadn't spoken to my business partner about the fact that I was applying. So I couldn't necessarily put my business with Natalie, the VA company, on my application form, knowing that once you submit it, you can't change anything. And I thought, imagine I submit
Oh,
my business with Natalie, and she's like, and the thing is, Natalie's, amazing. And it's very unlikely that she would have been like, no, I don't want you to go forward with it. But imagine doing that without telling your business partner, and you've got to
yeah.
give up half of your business too. So I was like, that I can't do that. Can't do that to Natalie. And like I said, because it was kind of quite last minute, I basically thought of my business plan based off of some of the issues that we had been facing as VA business owners. And so that's how it
Mm,
kind of came about. We had been going out there to networking events and exploring different partnerships or options and looking for investment. And we found it really hard to meet actual investors. And I was like,
yeah.
surely there's other people that are struggling with this. And when we started
Mm,
talking to other business owners, they were. And I was like, there's got to be a simpler way to do this. And that's where I came up with creating an app that connects investors to entrepreneurs in a dating app type fashion where you can kind of swipe and it just takes away the
yeah.
complexity and it makes it simple. Now, it doesn't mean to say that from that one swipe, you're then going to invest in that business. No, it means that you forge a connection where you can then have conversations. You can then potentially
You
meet
can
up in
find
person.
out.
Exactly. And then it might lead to you then or them investing in your business. But I think it's the same with
Yeah.
dating. You don't exactly just swipe and get married to someone. You swipe and then you talk and you find out more and you foster this relationship. And that's what my app was going to be centered on.
Yeah, I mean, as a business owner, I've been in business nearly 10 years now, and I wouldn't know where to go for investment. And so likewise, I'm sure there's a lot of people that would like to invest and don't know where to find places. They don't want to start having that conversation with perhaps startups or something like that because they don't want to give them false hope. So being able to look at it in an app, I thought it was brilliant. I thought it was a brilliant
Oh,
idea.
thank you.
I'd invest, but yeah, I got a bit of a shopping habit, so I won't be able to. I absolutely love that you applied on a whim, and it's very similar to you. I mean, you've got to have that tenacity, haven't you? You've got to almost
Mm.
have that risk-taking attitude sometimes, but also be level-headed about it. So was it, you and Natalie, you started the business together. Was that a whim, or was it a long process that you really thought about everything?
Do you know what? I wouldn't say it was a long process. We went to like the spa one day and we had kind of like a little spa day and it was lovely. And then we kind of were talking about our life goals and what we're doing currently at the moment and things. And then, that was maybe in the December. And then in the January, I'm pretty sure we had like an initial conversation of, do you know what? Our life goals, our values align and there's certain things that we're doing. Both of us are supporting small to medium enterprises with different things around their businesses. So whether that was the diary management, I was supporting with some accounting with a small business of like my friend. Natalie was working with a team that was scaling up their business. So we were both kind of helping in different ways with these like businesses. And we were like, why don't we just, you know, pop our heads together and create a business, because we're clearly aiding business owners to be more efficient, get the most value out of the time, giving them back some time as well. And so that's where we were like, yeah, actually it makes sense for us to do something together. And we were kind of wondering, I guess, what industry we would be in. And we're not, let's say, we were like, oh, well, I guess where we're helping sometimes with diary management, but sometimes with workflows and sometimes with project management, we're looking for a word that encompasses that. And at that time, what we thought best fit was becoming virtual assistants because we wanted to work
Yeah.
remotely. And, we had that conversation in January, and by March we had launched. So I wouldn't say it was, months and months of lots of chat. We just got on with it.
Well, it's kind of what you got to do, isn't it? But
Mm.
you can see the positives. I mean, when I started my business, my VA business, I thought, what if it goes wrong? But I thought, yeah, but what if it doesn't? It's got the potential to change my life. I can work from home, I can do this, I can do that.
Yeah.
Sometimes you just have to fight the fear. Did you
Yeah.
did you stay employed for a while when you
I
started,
did.
or?
Yeah, I did. I did. I actually stayed employed. So I was full time still at my job until September of that same year in 2022. So we launched kind of by March time, and we got our first client in June. Well, we kind of launched March, April. We got our first client in June, and I stayed employed right up until September of that year. So I was juggling both. And initially, we didn't
That's
kind of set up to start an agency, I guess. We set up to start as VAs. And then it got to a point where, yeah, all of our time was taken up. And we were like working with different clients. And we were like, the only way to grow this business further is to take on more people. And that's how it then kind of evolved.
This is crazy. I mean, I say to people, 3 months of constant marketing and you will start to see somebody, and working out like that you got your first client in June, that's about the 3 months.
Mhm.
You will start to get seen by people, sorry.
Yeah.
So working out that it took you about 3 months, and then July, August, another 3 months, and you'd left your full-time job, and, it's not unachievable for anybody else. It is remarkable, it's wonderful, and it is achievable, and Chisola, as well as others, testimony to that. But you
Mm.
say that it was just you and Natalie to begin with, and you got to the point of capacity and
Mm.
decided to evolve into a VA agency, and I was gonna ask about that because a lot of people, when they get to capacity, they either start saying no, or they take it on and they burn themselves out. When I got to capacity, I started having a waiting list, and it was amazing how many people were happy to wait. It was brilliant. But then it all
Mm.
gets a lot overwhelming and you can't see the wood for the trees, can you? But starting that agency is very difficult because it's your reputation at stake by putting somebody else forward. Are there any tips you can share? Because I know a lot of lead VAs do struggle sometimes to find people that are committed to being part of your team.
Yeah, I think, we obviously this was all new to us. So we were learning, and we're still learning. We haven't been in business that long. We've only had the business for just under 3 years. So it's not like we've been running the business for a long time. So we're always still learning and pivoting and changing direction. But what I would say is probably one of the key things comes down to when you are recruiting and you're looking at the members of team who you're trying to, I guess, take on. And I would say that's probably the biggest thing that we've learned in our journey, because you're not always going to get it right. And it is tough because we know, I guess myself and Natalie know the levels and the strengths that we bring to teams. And so when you're putting that trust into somebody else who you potentially might not have worked with before, it can be really difficult. But I think for us, we
Yeah.
started by a real kind of rigorous kind of recruitment process when it came to taking somebody on. And then on top of that, we would get them to do a few tasks for us as a business first, so that we felt comfortable
Ah.
and confident with putting them out to work for our clients. And that, I
Ah.
think, really helped us build that trust with that person as well, because we're virtual, we're BAs, and we're not meeting in person and things like that. So, you do have to build up that trust with people. And I think that really helped
Yeah.
us.
That is, oh my God, that is a wonderful idea to get them to do something for your own business, just to see how
Mm.
they, how confident they are, because you don't want to be having to micromanage somebody. It defeats the object, doesn't it?
Mhm.
That's
Yeah.
that is a soundbite right there. Well, so how many are there on your team now?
So we have a team of 4 current VAs who are working directly with clients. And then we've got a number of VAs who we have on our roster who we, are able to put out to work when we get new contracts come in. So yeah, I would say, yeah, we've got 4 current VAs that are currently on client-based work.
That's wonderful. Absolutely
Mm.
wonderful. So I think I've written down you started the business in I have to write it down because I forget everything. So it was March 22 and wow, it's only like 3 years. We've only just gone
Yeah,
3 years, so it is a
yeah.
remarkable transition. Now, I meant to ask actually,
Mm,
what was your background? Because you said, you were doing a bit of bookkeeping for,
mm.
an acquaintance beforehand, but what is your background? Where did it start?
Well, that's a great question, and I'm glad you asked. My background is actually in children's nursing. So I started my career as a children's nurse, and I used to
Oh,
work full time in the hospitals. And then I did that for a year, and I still felt like there was a bit of a fire in my belly for something more. And I've always loved the business side of things. And during my nurse training, I took some time out and I worked in Nando's HQ as a regional trainer, so as part of their HR team. And that was a real turning point for me in my career and kind of learning a bit more about business and managerial roles and how you can affect people and how training affects the staff too. So that was really insightful at that time. So after I finished
yeah.
my training and I worked full time as a nurse, there was still something that was like, oh, I still want to do more and want to be able to give more in terms of my career, even though nursing was amazing and it's so fulfilling. I then went back to uni. I did my MBA and I kind of crossed over and started working, joined the two together, I guess, healthcare and business, because I was working for a hospital, but I was part of the commercial education and events team. So I then got like an insight into a bit more around, business, making it commercially viable, especially when you're dealing with clients within the NHS. So
Yeah,
that
yeah.
kind of, yeah, got me excited for business. And I guess with my background as well, and just I've always worked in events, like just off my own back, supporting people with events, running and planning my own events, supporting people with running weddings. So I think combining all of those skills and supporting other people with businesses, I think that's kind of where my real passion came from. I love working with people and I've loved being able to help people. So I think running a business, especially knowing that we'll be able to help other business owners and help other people, was really, yeah, at the core of my kind of, yeah, career and what I wanted to do.
And I think being a VA really is fulfilling because you know that you're making a difference to these small business owners. You know that, when you're employed full time, you can often sit there from 9 till 5 and maybe only work a couple of hours and the rest of it you're twiddling your thumbs or you're talking about what you're having for tea tonight. And it's not always fulfilling.
Yeah.
I think having a career where you are making a difference to other people's lives it gives you a real sense of purpose, doesn't it? I mean,
Yeah.
you were given nursing is phenomenal, and sadly, I do get a lot of nurses come to me to see if there's, is there a possibility for them to be virtual assistants because people are becoming a little bit disillusioned with the NHS and looking for different careers. Do you think there's any overlap that they could bring to the VA world? Do you think there's
Oh,
any skills that they've got?
yeah, absolutely. There's so many transferable skills, especially when you're coming from a nursing background. Just even and the thing is, I do want to make this disclaimer. I am still a registered nurse. I still do agency shifts. I still practice
Oh,
because I still just think it's really important to be able to, yeah, support the nursing agenda. We're obviously very understaffed, and everyone knows that. Anyone who's worked in the NHS
yeah,
recognises that. So I do still try to do my bit as a nurse
that's
and looking at
wonderful.
my nursing career. But yeah, I do think there's so many transferable skills, whether that comes to communication or problem solving, being in high pressured situations and having to
Mm,
come up with solutions, your interpersonal relationships. Like a lot of nursing, you're speaking to people. I was obviously dealing with children and their parents. So, you're doing a lot of talking to people, your relationship building, and that
mm.
comes into play when you're a virtual assistant. You're building those relationships, whether it's clients or with your specific client or the teams that they're working with. There's just so many
Yeah.
crossovers, is what I would say. So many.
Yeah. I've got with my Facebook group, I've got I'm going to add it up wrong now. I've got 3 community managers in there. And I think the skills from nursing would be wonderful for a community management role as well, because which is part of the many services that VAs offer, in case listeners are unsure. But just their ability to just understand and have the empathy and just keep things nice and calm is just,
Yeah.
I think that's
Yeah.
one area they could
No,
probably do it.
yeah, definitely. Sorry, just to add to that, I think
No.
the organisation point of view, because when I was a nurse and I would be working on the ward, the first thing that I would do is organise my day in terms of priorities. And so I would
Mhm.
literally put out all the times of the day, I'd be working from 7:30 till 7:30 at night, and I would list out the times. I would make myself a little schedule and I would prioritise. I'd put in all the things I've got to do, and then I would prioritize throughout the day what I'm going to be doing at what time, etc. And I think, again, those are skills that you probably think at the time when you're nursing, oh, it's just part of my day-to-day job, but actually so
Yeah.
crucial when it comes to working as a VA.
That is a major point. I mean, when I wrote my first book, I wrote about what traits are beneficial for virtual assistants. And just before I went to publish, I thought, oh, I've not put organised in there. It's just, you just assume, don't you, that
Yeah.
everybody's organised. But
Yeah.
organisational skills, being proactive, being able to prioritise, like you say,
Mm.
massive skills that nurses have got. I've had the privilege of being on Southmead ward quite a few times, seeing how these 12-hour shifts run. It's incredible, absolutely
Mm.
incredible. Yeah. Now,
Yeah, no,
what is
definitely.
the you mentioned that you've got small and medium businesses that you support with your VA business. I keep saying, I've been saying it for a couple of years, but it's about time the larger companies and the corporates started using us, I think. I mean, we are the more cost-effective option, and I think that's what a lot of businesses need now. Do
Mm.
you what are your thoughts? Do you think that might happen, or
Do you know what? I would love for that to happen. And I definitely think more people are becoming open to, open to that. I just think with a lot of larger companies, they still want those, even if they are once a month, they still want you to come in the office. And I think that's where the
yeah,
barrier is. The barrier for a lot of the larger companies are they want some sort of office presence, or they want
yeah.
somebody to come in at some point, even if it's once a week or once a month. And, I think that's where the challenge comes. And it's constantly about, re-educating on the benefits, obviously, that we add, the value that we add, the amount of money that they save with having us. But I think that's probably the biggest challenge when it comes to the larger companies, I would say.
And that's so important with marketing as well, isn't it? To
Mm.
constantly put that out there. Now, I've got another apprentice question, if I may, because it's a really important one that I every week I was like, where are they getting their dresses from? Do you have the outfits made for you?
No, so this is a great question. I am
Oh,
a big, but this is a big, yeah, I'm a big fashionista. I love fashion. So when it came to The Apprentice, we don't have the outfits made for us. We have to do our own shopping and get our own outfits. We don't have like a budget for it either. So get our outfits ourselves. So before I went into the house, they say to obviously purchase your outfits. Now, me being me, I was like, I'm going in there for the long haul. I've managed to get onto the show, so I'm going in there right until the end. So I need to
yeah.
think about the fact that, there's 12 episodes, and each of those episodes are, filmed over sometimes up to 3 or 4 days. So I was like, right,
Oh
when you
God.
calculate that, I'm going to need over 30 outfits. So
Is that
I
not
was
girl maths?
I I honestly was straight onto the internet looking for as many different outfits as I could find and into the shops. And I had a very short space of time to do so. But I am definitely somebody who believes that when I look good, I feel good, and I
Yeah.
present better and I work better. So I really wanted to make sure that my fits represented that. So yeah, I bought a lot of mine from Karen Millen. I did purchase quite a few from Zara as well. And then one of the good hacks that we also had in the house, once we'd stayed there for a few weeks, we started to swap our outfits around with each other. If we were like similar sizes, we'd be like, oh, could I wear your outfit today? And that way it was, really cost effective.
Oh, blimey. Do they really phone at like 4 a.m. and 5 a.m.?
They really do, and it's torture. We don't
Right.
actually know. We don't have any clocks around. We don't have any watches on us. Everything's taken away from us. Our phones. There's no computers. There's nothing. No TV. So we actually don't know what the time is ever. So we're literally going off of what they tell us, but we don't have access to the time. So they kind of say to us, it would be wise if you go to sleep now because you're waking up early. So whether you listen to that advice or not is up to you. But yeah, they definitely say it would be wise to go to bed now. And yeah, the wake up time could even be like before that. It could be at 2 a.m., 3 a.m. sometimes.
What?
Yeah.
And like when they say we got to go to Chelsea Market, you got 20 minutes to get ready. You haven't got 20 minutes, have you?
I promise you, we have 20 minutes. We have
Shut
20
up.
minutes to get ready, like hair, makeup, the lot, outfits on. We have 20 minutes to get ready. I think the buffer that you probably end up seeing is that once those 20 minutes are up, everyone has to go downstairs and we get mic'd up and we have to have breakfast. So yes, we have 20 minutes to get ready, but if you're smart with it, you might bring your makeup bag downstairs with you so you can do some extra touch-ups whilst you're getting ready, whilst, you're having breakfast. If you're sneaky like me, sometimes you might be like, oh, I'm just going to run upstairs quickly once you've got your mic on just to quickly do a few little touch-ups too. So
Yeah.
yeah, but you really did have, once those 20 minutes was up, everyone would be basically like pushed downstairs so they could get us all
Oh,
mic'd up and we could have breakfast before we leave.
I need a nap just thinking about it. It's just now I read somewhere that yeah, yeah this is awful, but you suffer with chronic migraines, and I'm really genuinely sorry that you have to deal with that. When I was going through my chemotherapy, I had a migraine once a month, just once a month, but you're having to deal with that on a regular basis. You're running a business, you're doing 12-hour bank shifts as a nurse. You were filming goodness knows what hours when you were
Yeah.
doing the show as well. How do you cope with that?
Do you know what? It's been, I think, chronic migraine has really affected my whole career. Even when I was, doing my nurse training before I was qualified, I ended up deferring for a year because of suffering so bad with my, migraine.
Mm.
But what I would say for the actual apprentice, and a few years back, I started on a new medication, which has really helped me manage my migraine. And I
Oh,
know a lot of people listening might have experienced chronic migraine and know that sometimes some medication will work for a period of time and then it stops working. It's almost like the body gets used to it and then you have to find
yeah.
something else. But there's that constant journey to finding the right medication, but then knowing that it might stop working or it might, your body might get so used to it that it doesn't really have an effect on you anymore. And there's that constant fear that, oh my gosh, when is almost this going to stop working? I have to start trying a new process to find something new. But I was really blessed that my medication that I've been on since 2022 has been really effective and has worked really well for me. So during that time, I didn't actually have any specific migraine attacks. And
Right.
I was just kind of managing kind of the whole illness as a whole, but I didn't actually have any specific attacks, which when I have an attack, I lose my vision, I can't see, violently being sick and there's lots of other symptoms that come with it. So I literally can't move, I can't move from where I am. I have to stay in a dark
Oh,
room and it can last for yeah, hours, sometimes days. And then you have like the migraine hangover that then lasts for days. So it's like, yeah, it's really difficult. But honestly, I'm really blessed and thankful to say that currently I'm on a really good medication that is managing my migraine really well. And that's been really helpful as part of, yeah, my career journey during this stage.
but that is incredibly inspiring as well because it could have held you back from taking these challenges and seeking a better working life, one that you feel gives you full purpose. There's a lot of things we often say to ourselves to stop us doing things. And somebody said to me once, is it an excuse or is it a reason? And I still ask myself that now when I'm going to do something that is maybe outside my comfort zone. And so I think you, by doing what you've done with the business and everything else you're doing,
Yeah.
is really, really, it's going to be so inspiring for the listeners. And I'm so grateful that you've shared so much with us.
No, that's honestly, it's an absolute pleasure to be able to share, and like you said, it's definitely about raising awareness and constantly being able to bounce back. I think that's with any business, like the resilience that people have to be able to keep going is what sets them apart. And it is difficult at times, and yes, I've definitely had very low moments and really difficult times where you're struggling, thinking, I've literally not been able to work for a month, or months at a time. And it can be really disheartening. But I think the ability to be able to bounce back even after these setbacks and after the adversity is what makes you, continue to be a great business owner and a great person. So yeah.
Absolutely. It's the positive out of it is it's the strength that it gives you to overcome other things, and also to make your life as you want it to be, to make yourself happy, not selfishly, but to do things that you want to do. It can often give you another perspective, can't it?
Absolutely. Definitely.
Now,
Yeah.
I just want to say before we go, I know I expect a lot of you are going to rush over to LinkedIn and try and connect to Chisola, but may I ask that people just hit her follow button, because we're not a demographic, VAs aren't a demographic, and she'll just be overwhelmed with everything. So if you could hit the follow button for me, that would be wonderful, please. Chisola, I am incredibly grateful for your time. You have not asked for any payment for this, so I'm going to make a donation to either your charity, or if you don't have one that you yet support, then I'll do it to another charity. So
Oh, no,
is
I
there a
do.
charity?
Yeah, I support the Migraine Trust. I actually just not long ago finished during March. We did 100 miles marching for migraine. So yeah, the Migraine Trust is the charity of choice. That would be, yeah, fantastic.
Not at all. I will do that with pleasure. I will do that as soon as we end the call, and I'll send proof to your brother for
Oh.
your management agency.
Yeah. Who is my brother? Keep it in the
Yeah,
family.
he's brilliant. He's brilliant. I'm going to get him on the next one. It has been an absolute pleasure, Chisola. I am so grateful for your time. You're a massive inspiration. Thank you so, so much.
Thank you so much for having me. Honestly, you're a great interviewer. And yeah, I genuinely think, even some of the topics that I don't know whether this is on film, on camera, or on the record, but I was having a read through even some of the topics that you cover from a VA perspective, and thought, these are fantastic topics. And for somebody to be, to be talking about it and shedding the light on it, I thought it was fantastic. And I think, you're going to continue to go far. And I saw that you got to number 6. It's fantastic achievement. And yeah, keep up the great work for the VA community.
Thank you so much. Thank you. If you're ready to reclaim your independence, then subscribe to this podcast, because there is so much I'm going to give you. You got to subscribe on your favourite channel, it says. What channel? I ain't going to be on the BBC, am I?